What's good, King Gonda? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back here with another episode of Fair Use, where we review other content in the Pan-African world and the African American community. And I want to talk about, the disrespect between the African American communities and then the entire diaspora. But this is more or less from Africans towards African Americans. And people have said that, I'm a little bit too soft on the African community. I'm blaming everything on African Americans. But this comment was left on my other channel on a video I made by Tariq Nasheed. A Nigerian American brother said this: "Take music. As a Nigerian, I've seen the disheartening things that my family has said about Black Americans, all while grooming the boys to exploit those same Black American women for green cards." Now, I have seen a few people from the African community who have called out Tariq Nasheed in the FBA camp and the ADOS camp, or anybody who has something to say negative about African immigrants in the United States, or talking down on Africa, or talking down on those people. And you know what? I've actually seen African Americans who've been critical of other African Americans who do that, including myself. But I'll tell you what I have not really seen. All right. Africans who are checking other Africans about their disrespect towards African Americans. We got to call this thing out, right? What he just said in this screenshot is something that I know to be true for certain people in the Caribbean community, for certain people in the Nigerian community. I've seen it myself. I went to medical school with people from Ivory Coast, people from Burundi. I've heard people say this flat out to me in person and online. So what he said is not a joke. Okay. Now I get it that certain people can see in the African American community, there are certain people in our community that are the stereotype. We've been relegated to criminal activity. We've been relegated to participating in single motherhood and drugs and things like that. My own father was on drugs. So I can understand why a family who is coming from another country, and you look at certain elements of the Black community, you want to tell your children, hey, listen, I know that these people, they look like you, but you should not deal with certain people in these communities. I can understand maybe that, right? But what I don't understand is throwing the whole group under the table or underneath the truck or under the bus, if you will, because we know that not all African Americans are like that. We have African American elites. We have African Americans who are in the corporate world, African Americans who own and run big businesses, African Americans who run universities and colleges. But what happens is that a lot of times I don't hear Black immigrants when they talk down on Black folks, that they're mentioning these other people who have been doing these great things in the African American community for many years. And it takes me to some of the negative experiences I've had with certain people over this topic. Like, for example, I've heard Africans tell me directly, hey, you're not African. You don't have any culture. Your people are nothing like us. We just share the same skin tone. You should know more about our culture because you don't have any. And so I took it upon myself to say, okay, listen, I've been going back and forth with these people about this subject. Why don't I take my own trips to Africa and see for myself? And which is why I did it. And, maybe we have some vlog footage of me in the background, going to Uganda for the first time, Tanzania, things like that. I've embarked on that trip and that voyage, visiting Africa for the last 5 years. And I can honestly say that while I have seen a lot of progress in the African countries that I've seen, for those people who bragged about it and talked about our communities, I see what is going on here. And if I really wanted to be picky and take out a pen and paper and write down what I see, it's even much worse than what I hear people saying about us, because we got to be real here. If you disrespect the African American community for whatever reason, because of a bad experience, and then you say that to somebody, they're going to shoot back. Just vice versa. If the African community is getting, roasted or whatever, they're going to shoot back. And for an example, when you talk about, out of wedlock births, yeah, we have it. And maybe the Africans that come to America don't have it as bad as we do. But it's not like it's not a problem here on the African continent. Every time you're out on the street, no matter where you are. If you're going to Kololo, if you're, let's say if you're going to Tenda, if you're going to Muyanga, you're going to see homeless children with no shoes coming up to your window, knocking on your door, all throughout the city of Kampala, all throughout, I would assume, Africa, asking for money. All right. You're going to see elements of rich people who, it appears on the outside looking in, and I could be wrong, that they are not pulling their people up or doing for their people. And that could even go as far as to people who are doing very well in the diaspora. You're living in the UK or you live in the United States, and then you're insulting other groups of people, most notably the other African American community, while your success is not being replicated in the home country, and then you make an excuse for why that is. But then when African Americans make an excuse for why we're unsuccessful, you don't want to hear it, right? But when we play the same thing with equality, then somebody's feelings get hurt. And the reality is that you should never teach your children that, these Black Americans are bad people. They have no culture. They're trash, which is not true. I mean, I grew up in a National Baptist church. I grew up in the African American community, and I understand that there are different cultures here. And I have a different culture myself as an African person living in America that is a part of the African American community. I have just as much culture as anybody else. We do things differently than anybody else does in the United States. That's why it makes us a unique group. But when you tell people these things and you start to have issues for whatever reason that it is, a bad experience or a stereotype, people are not going to take kindly to that. And what I'm asking for the people in America or in whatever place, if you're in the United States, most notably, if you are a person that's not African American, if you really want to bring unity to the subject, teach your children to have respect for Black Americans, just like we have to have respect for you. All right. I don't care what the media says. Yes, there are some people in Africa who are scammers. That don't mean that everybody is a scammer in Africa. Does it? Absolutely. It does not mean that. There are people in Africa who will steal. That don't mean everybody in Africa steals, because I've seen people get beat up for stealing. Same thing with the Black community in America. Okay. We need to teach our people, especially if we're from the Caribbean communities and African communities. Hey, listen, yeah, these people, they have done something. They're good people, and then there are bad people in their communities, just like there are good people and bad people in our communities. Once we have that level of respect, then we can go somewhere. But if we want to just act like all the disrespect is just coming from just the African American communities and Africans don't participate in this, then we're lying. Because I know that Africans, some of them participate in this. Caribbeans, some of you guys participate in this. I'm not going to sit here and just be, African Americans holding them accountable. And I can do that more or less because these are my people directly. So I feel more comfortable talking to them. But I do understand the frustrations. We have African people in the United States who are bragging about they're Nigerian American, bragging about they're Kenyan American and what they're doing in America and how they're going to run stuff. And then when you visit their countries that they're from, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, this is what you're telling me about? Not to disrespect the countries, but wait a minute. Like, what's going on here? I should see some elements of what you're doing here to try to pull your people up. And maybe some people are doing that, but it looks disingenuous. And we all have big truths to say about you that we don't like, but we got to learn how to handle that. And that's how the Black world can come together and can make progress. But if we're not doing that, if we're continuing to have an immature conversation, if we're just blaming one group or the African community is doing this and the African American community isn't doing it, or the African American community is doing it and the African American community is not, that's how problems start. Both groups, the African Americans should teach their children that you should not disrespect people from Africa. These are people that are in your diaspora. Yes, they may have people that they do things differently, but we want to respect them. We want to show honor and love to them. And we have to reciprocate that all through the Black world. If not, you're going to get into petty discussions like this that lead to where? Nowhere. All right. That's all I have to say for the day. I really thank you guys for supporting us. It really means a lot to me personally. We lost Kim the comic, and I've been working really hard to, as well as the staff, to bring this channel back to life because we lost a person here, and we're doing the very best that we can, working up until the midnight hour, sometimes 3, 4 in the morning, to do so for you every day. And it means a lot that you're interested in what we have to say. Subscribe, hit the bell, join us, support us. And as you always know, keep it real. King Ghana forever. We're out.